On the crew chief thing, well, our company, we continue to evolve, add depth, get bigger, that type of thing. If you remember a couple years ago with Kevin Hamlin, Kevin did a great job with 83. We brought Ryan Pemberton in. We moved Kevin into a different role within the company. It's made our company stronger. So we're, over the next couple of weeks, going to evaluate where we're at with people. There's nothing, imminent on anything at this point. We're excited that Jimmy's working with Kasey this weekend. Jimmy did a great job when he came a couple years ago to get AJ going, and then with Scott, helping him get up to speed too. So we've got some really, really good people, and it's just, it's our job to find places and roles for them within the organization.
Let's go Joe Menzer, Marty Smith, Nate Ryan.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Guys, Kasey, I guess for you, looking back on this whole free agency thing, I mean, are you kind of dismayed at how it all kind of imploded in the end? And for both of you guys, what are you guys hoping to get out of this this kind of 1 year and 5 race alliance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely went down differently than a lot of people would have expected. Definitely myself. This whole season, all the way along, I wanted to finish strong for RPM, for Budweiser, Ford. Those people have done a lot for me. All the sponsors at RPM have done a lot for myself and my family, and I respect all of them. I feel like we've had a great relationship. I feel like I've been a part of every sponsor there. I don't care whose car those sponsors that are on, minus Menards. I've been a part of all those sponsors for the last 6.5 years, and so I feel like I've done what I need to do there, and I've told them, I'll do whatever I have to the rest of this year to keep some of that stuff going, to work with you guys. That's not what it's about. It's about me moving on, starting on my next year, and it's about them moving on and getting ready for their next year, and it's mutual, and I'm glad we've done it, and I think they are too, and we're just going from there.
Is on? Hello, Bueller. Marty Smith, ESPN. Kasey, this might be a bit redundant, but from Lee's question, but what was it like for you to be labeled a quitter, and for someone for whom you've driven to question whether or not you're committed to that race team and that you, quote, need to pull your weight?
Well, I don't like hearing that stuff, but, everybody can say whatever you want, think whatever you want. It's opinions, and it's just like the prima donna, whatever Lee was saying with the prima donna part. I mean, that's whoever's driver that is, that's his opinion, and they can say what they want. I've always tried to kind of mind my own business, whether it's on the racetrack, off the racetrack, my week at home. I kind of do my own thing. There's not a whole lot on me, so people can talk, they can say what they want, but I'm definitely not a quitter. I've done a lot for that company for a long time, and we've went our separate ways, and that's the way it is. But I feel like I've done a lot for that company, and they've done a lot for me, and I'm glad of my last 6.5 years there.
Let's go Nate Ryan, Monty Dutton.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Kasey, you said that the timing of all this made sense, that it was good for you, good for RPM. Could you explain, what was the primary driver of it happening this week right now? Is it the uncertainty of the team going forward? Was it your dissatisfaction with the team? Did they approach you first? Did you approach them? How did it
Well, it started Monday, and we just kind of put it together and got it figured out, and we went our separate ways. But I think there's a lot of things on both sides that made it make sense. And for me, I'm next year is going to be it's 1 year, but it's a short year, and we got to. I'm happy to be prepared, trying to get prepared a little bit early, knowing a little bit more about the company, about the cars, the engines, the things that I'm going to be driving next year. I want to come out and win next year, and the only way to do that is to be prepared and get off to a great start at the start of the season. So hopefully this will help in some of that, and we'll be able to be a little bit quicker at when we first start at Daytona.
We have time for 3 more. Monty will come to Al Pierce and finish. Joe Menzer had a follow-up. Go ahead.
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. This is for either of you or both. When you look at this deal, your first thought is, well, it makes perfect sense. Almendiner's an 83, Kasey's been a 9. But then when you think through it further, you realize that there are sponsorships and contracts and personal services involved, and that maybe from the point of view of Budweiser, Almendiner's not as valuable as Kasey. So how were those issues resolved in a relatively quick time?
You mean Almarillo? Is that you mean Eric? You're saying Eric Almarillo? Okay, yeah. Well, I don't think either. That's all right. I don't think either one of us are qualified to answer that because that was, not, especially on the Red Bull side, we weren't involved in that piece of the puzzle at all. Obviously, we were fortunate, or not fortunate. Our circumstance is what it is that we have a car that's available, that we were using, development guys, that type, or replacement drivers, which I would also like to thank Reed Sorensen. Reed did a great job for us. We were very pleased with what he did and gave a great effort. So on our behalf, we were just kind of waiting, and this is a great thing for us to get started on 2011 with Kasey. But the contracts and all that all worked with between the team and RPM, and we weren't privy to that. Is that what you meant? I'm sorry.
That is what I meant.
Yeah.
I was wondering, somebody has to be involved. Kasey, you have to be involved in that. You have a contract with us. No problem getting released.
Gotcha. Yeah, that wasn't me.
Well, I think Budweiser has a contract with RPM, and no, I mean I feel like that's a part for me that has been difficult is to be leaving that a little bit early, but we've worked it out with the Bud guys, and I'm still doing my appearances and meet and greets throughout the rest of this year for Budweiser, and our World of Outlaw team's still Budweiser. We're still taking care of all that, so I think we're all good there. It's definitely not the way we wanted it to end on either side, but it's the way it ended, and hopefully Eric Amarillo runs really well for them. They still have the same team, and they have Amarillo, so I think they'll do just fine. And who knows what they'll do after this weekend with Eric or with other drivers, but I hope Budweiser does great. I hope RPM does fine the rest of the year.
All right, Al, and then Joe finish up, and then we'll go. Go.
Yeah, J. Al Pierce from Auto Week over here behind the TV guys. You may have answered this earlier, and I may not have understood it. It was reported last night that y'all have told Scott he would not be back next year. That was reported on TV last night. Is that indeed the case? Have y'all told him he's available to look around?
Well, obviously, we've said this, for some time now. That there's performance clauses within his contract, and again, we don't really get into contract discussions, but our plan right now is to have 2 cars. So we're monitoring Brian's health. Brian appears to be on course and doing great. So again, we're also monitoring Scott and his performance, where he's at, what's going to happen next. So again, we're going to end up having at this point 2 cars and possibly 3 drivers. So at that point, decisions will have to be made. It's not necessarily the case that the decisions have been made yet.
Final question, Joe.
Jay, Joe Menzer here.
Hey,
again. Just the follow-up I tried to ask earlier, Kasey kind of alluded to it, but what are you guys hoping to get out of this 1 year and 5 race alliance?
Well, I mean, our expectations are certainly aligned with Kasey's. I mean, Kasey, the questions earlier about the prima donna and the no effort, that type of thing. If anybody's ever been to Kasey Kahne racing, you see this kid. His DNA is a race car driver. That's what he does, and we couldn't be more excited and happy to have him for the Final 5 and for 2011. We're going to make every effort to go compete for a championship, win races, get in the chase, and go compete for a championship. Last year we were. We got in the chase, won a race at 6 poles, whatever. We certainly think we can do that and then some. So we have very, very high expectations.
Thank you very much, Jay and Kasey, and good luck this weekend. Thank you.